3 weeks ago, my world was turned upside down. I discovered that my husband, the man I've been with for 14 years, had been having a 2-year affair. We've been married for 6 of those years, and in all that time, I never suspected anything like this was happening. I saw some texts on his phone that led to the truth, and now I'm struggling to figure out what comes next. The affair wasn't just some brief fling or a mistake he regretted. It was a full-blown relationship. He told her he loved her, and I found love notes, and even this stupid embroidery thing she made him, hidden away in his home office. It's not like this was a one-time slip-up or something that ended quickly. He carried on with her for 2 years, while continuing to live a life with me, lying to my face the entire time. One of the hardest parts of all this is the emotional aspect. He insists this is the only person he's ever cheated with, but how am I supposed to believe him when he's been lying for so long? He told her he loved her. That's what gets to me the most. The emotional intimacy he shared with her, the things they said to each other. It's those moments of affection and attention that hurt more than the physical betrayal. Sure, the sex part is bad enough, but it's the love, the bond they had, that really tears me apart. And then there's the fact that he wasn't using protection and didn't get tested, all while still being intimate with me. He says he wants to work things out, that we should go to couples therapy and try to rebuild our relationship. I don't know if that's even possible anymore. How do you trust someone after this? For 2 years, he led a double life, and I only found out because I happened to see his texts. He didn't confess. I had to catch him. How do I believe anything he says now? I told him I'd be open to working on our marriage, but only if he let me put a tracker app on his phone. To me, it wasn't even about needing to monitor his every move, but more about the gesture. About him showing that he had nothing more to hide. I wanted him to prove that he was serious about transparency and rebuilding trust. After all, if he had nothing else to hide, what's the harm in letting me have access to his whereabouts? He agreed at first. He said he understood why I needed that assurance. But then, when he came to pick up some of his things, he told me he'd changed his mind. Now he says he's still considering letting me install the app, but he wants us to go to therapy first. That's not what I agreed to. I was clear from the start, the app comes first. I need to know he's willing to be completely open before we can even begin to work on this relationship. I can't sit in therapy with him, trying to rebuild something, if he's still unwilling to give me that reassurance. So now we're in this limbo. He wants to work on things, but he's dragging his feet when it comes to actually doing the one thing I've asked of him. He's still considering it, but to me, that just feels like another excuse. He cheated on me for 2 years, and now he's hesitating over something as small as a tracking app? I don't think that's too much to ask. I feel like I'm entitled to at least one ultimatum after everything he's put me through. It makes me wonder if I'm just wasting my time. Maybe this marriage is beyond saving, and I'm holding on to something that isn't there anymore. I keep thinking about how much time I've already invested in this relationship. We've been together since we were 19, and we've built so much together, memories, shared experiences, a life that feels impossible to walk away from. We had such a beautiful wedding, and I'm deeply integrated into his family. I love them like my own. And yet, despite all of that, I can't shake the feeling that he's not as committed to fixing this as I am. I know his family loves me, too, and they've been nothing but supportive throughout our marriage. But now, with all of this hanging over us, I wonder how much longer that support will last. They've probably heard his side of the story, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start pushing me to go to therapy with him, to give him another chance. But how can I do that when he's already broken every promise he ever made to me? If he can lie to me for 2 years, what else is he capable of? At this point, I'm starting to think that maybe divorce is the best option. We don't have kids, and while I got tested for STDs as soon as I found out about the affair, I'm fortunate that my health wasn't affected. It would be easier to walk away now than to drag this out, trying to fix something that's so clearly broken. But a part of me can't help wondering if I'm giving up too soon. Am I throwing away 14 years of my life because of one mistake, even if that mistake lasted for 2 years? His refusal to install the tracker app feels like the last straw. It's not even about the app itself, it's about what it represents. If he really wanted to rebuild my trust, he'd be willing to do anything, right? But instead, he's putting his foot down, making it clear that he's not willing to go that far. It feels like he's still trying to protect his privacy, still holding on to something that he doesn't want me to see. Am I the asshole for making this an ultimatum? Maybe I'm being unreasonable, but after everything he's done, I don't think so. He betrayed me, and now he wants to dictate the terms of how we move forward. I'm just asking for one thing, one gesture to show that he's truly committed to fixing this. If he can't even give me that, then what's the point? I keep going back and forth in my head, trying to figure out if I'm doing the right thing. Maybe I should give him a chance to prove himself in therapy. Maybe I'm too focused on the tracker app and not giving him enough credit for wanting to work on our marriage. But then again, why should I settle for less than full transparency? Why should I let him off the hook when he's the one who broke our vows? I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that I deserve to be with someone who values honesty and trust as much as I do. I'm not asking for much, just for him to show that he's willing to be open with me, that he's not hiding anything else. If that's too much for him, then maybe this marriage isn't worth saving after all.
I've been in a book club for a while now. It's something I enjoy, an escape from the day-to-day grind, and a way to connect with other women who share a love for reading. It's a pretty typical suburban book club, mostly middle-aged white women, many of whom are more liberal than me, and definitely more so than my husband. The monthly meetings, the shared book recommendations, the casual conversations about family and life, it's all a welcome break from the chaos of raising kids and trying to keep everything afloat. But lately, things haven't been great at home. My husband and I are on the brink of divorce, trying to salvage what's left of our relationship for the sake of our children. It's not easy. We have big differences in how we view the world, in our values, in the way we approach conflict. We've been trying to claw our way back, to find some common ground, but it feels like every day there's a new hurdle to overcome. Our marriage has seen better days, and I'm constantly walking on eggshells, trying to keep the peace. Last week, I brought home a book from my book club. I didn't choose the book, it's just the book of the month that everyone is reading. I wasn't even at the last meeting to hear about it because one of our kids had a birthday that day. A friend lent it to me because the wait list at the library was too long, and I didn't want to waste one of my Audible credits. Honestly, I haven't even started the book yet. It's just been sitting on the counter, waiting for me to find the time to crack it open. My husband found the book and read the back cover. Apparently, it's about a wife who cheats on her husband, and then the couple stumbles upon a dead prostitute, leading to some sort of murder mystery plot. When he brought it up to me, he wasn't happy. He said that reading a book like this, right now, with everything we're going through, was a bad idea. He seemed to think it would put bad things into my brain, that it would somehow influence me or plant negative ideas in my head. He even suggested that my friends, who are also reading this book, must have husbands who cheat on them, and that by reading it, I'd be bringing more negativity into our already troubled marriage. His reaction floored me. I didn't even know what to say. I just shut down. It's not like this is the first time I've read a book with themes of infidelity or murder. In fact, we've read several books in our club that have touched on those subjects. There was one about a cheating husband, another about a wife who had an affair, and one about a mother who murdered her own child. None of those books made me want to cheat on my husband or harm my kids. It's fiction. It's not real life. And yet, here he was, trying to police what I read, acting like I was putting our marriage at risk by reading a murder mystery. The thing is, I've never cheated on my husband. Not once. The thought has never even crossed my mind. If I ever got to a point where I was seriously considering something like that, I would know that the marriage was already over. But that's not where we are. Yes, we're struggling, but I'm still here, trying to make things work. For him to suggest that reading a book could somehow influence me to do something I'd never do, it's insulting, to say the least. I tried to explain that this is just a book from my book club, that I didn't even pick it out, but he wouldn't hear it. He insisted that if I valued our marriage, I wouldn't read it. To him, it was a matter of respect, of keeping our relationship free from anything that might pollute it. But to me, it just felt controlling. It felt like yet another way he was trying to exert power over me, to dictate what I could and couldn't do in the name of saving our marriage. I didn't push back too much in the moment. I've learned to pick my battles with him, and this didn't feel like one worth fighting at the time. Instead, I told him I'd return the book to the library, which I planned to do. But what he doesn't know is that I already downloaded the audiobook. I'm going to listen to it anyway, but I'll do it in secret, when he's not around. It feels ridiculous that I even have to hide this from him, but here we are. Part of me feels guilty for going behind his back, but the other part of me is frustrated that I even have to consider his feelings about something as trivial as a book. It's not like reading about a fictional affair is going to make me run out and cheat on him. If anything, it's the lack of trust, the constant criticism, and the emotional manipulation that are eroding our relationship. And if he's going to draw a line in the sand over a book, I think that says more about him than it does about me. I can't help but think about the hypocrisy of it all. He watches UFC fights all the time, bloody, violent matches where men beat the crap out of each other. Should I tell him to stop watching because it might make him more aggressive or violent in real life? Of course not. Because it's entertainment. It's fiction. It's not real life. The same way that this book isn't real life. So, Ida for deciding to go ahead and listen to the audiobook anyway, even though my husband doesn't want me to. Maybe I am. Maybe I should be more sensitive to his feelings, given the fragile state of our marriage. But at the same time, I don't think I'm wrong for wanting to enjoy a book for my book club. It's not about cheating or disrespecting him, it's about having some semblance of normalcy in a situation where everything else feels out of my control. At this point, I feel like there are much bigger issues in our marriage than whether or not I read this book. We're trying to fix something that's been broken for a long time, and I don't think a fictional story is going to make or break us. But I also don't think it's fair for him to tell me what I can and can't read. If anything, his reaction just highlights how far apart we are, how differently we view things, and how much work we still have to do if we're going to save this marriage. In the end, I'm going to listen to the book. Maybe that makes me an asshole. But I think I deserve to have something for myself, something that brings me a little bit of joy, even if it's just a book club audiobook.